The nation might be heading to the polls, but plenty of people have gone early to vote, clearly because they're eager to be at Sydney Motorsport Park to witness a special piece of motor racing history. And conditions couldn't be any better. A beautiful day in Sydney's west. You wouldn't think it was late autumn with temperatures in the low 20s. Hi everybody, Greg Rust and Aaron Noonan with you on a very special day here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and in fact for motorsport in this country generally. It is the Australian debut of the car sales TCR Australia Series. Noons, it's a global formula that is guaranteed to create close racing, isn't it?
Rusty, pumped, excited, great to start something new, something fresh, something different, something with amazing worldwide relevance. 17 cars on the grid here today in Sydney, representing 8 different makes. So the mixture's fantastic, and it continues our history of small capacity touring car racing, from the Cortinas and the Minis that used to pound around Mount Panorama in the 60s, the Escorts and the Corollas, that amazing super touring era of the 90s. TCR Australia now continues that history here today in Sydney.
And of course, in addition to the variety of marques that are represented on the grid, it's a terrific lineup of drivers too, isn't it?
Big mixture, really wide range. Champions in various different categories, young drivers, older experienced drivers. 3 females in the field this weekend, including the Australian rally champion, Molly Taylor, who's never raced on bitumen before. We've got something for everybody in TCR Australia.
And they say, from the feedback we've had so far, the opening few laps should be exciting.
There's not too many people with experience in front-wheel drive race cars. These are all front-wheel drive, turbocharged, pocket rockets, 4 and 5 door sedans and hatches. It's going to be good fun. And the great thing is, we don't know what we're going to get today.
We hope you're excited. We are too, as we welcome viewers watching at home on SBS here in Australia and those tuning in online right around the world. Lots of news and stories from both the pit lane and the grid. We've got those covered for you with Eminata Francesco and Cameron Vanenduggen.
Historic moment, Tony D'Alberto, the first ever pole sitter for TCR Australia. That must sit pretty well with you.
Yeah, it's really exciting. You know, obviously a lot of work has gone in for the category, for our team Wall Racing, in behind the scenes to get here. And yeah, to grab the first pole is pretty special. Definitely put that on the resume.
So Wall Racing behind you, but also Honda Australia as well. So you've delivered the first pole position of TCR Australia to Honda. They'll be quite chuffed with that. Any little bonuses in there?
No bonuses other than the pole check from Astron Tech, so thank you for that. But yeah, it's great to have Honda here supporting our team and my car. We've got a few of the guests here today from Honda execs, so it's good to put the car in the front row here, and John Martin did a great job as well, and he was a bit unlucky not to be on the front row with me. So the cars are obviously strong, and Wall Racing's done a great job to prepare them.
Speaking about getting them off the front row, have you had much of an opportunity to do any race starts? Because that's going to be another challenge in itself.
Yeah, there's quite a process. I was just chatting with Bridie what his process is, and you push this button, hold that lever, do this, do that. When you read it on paper, it's quite tricky, but when you do it in real life, it's not so bad. But I've had a couple of goes at a test day, and I did one before. It wasn't amazing, but hopefully get off the line strong here and lead into turn 1.
Good luck today. Let's go and check in with Greg Rust.
You can just see off to the side of the grid that looks like there's an issue for James Moffat. We'll cover that for you in a minute, but I've caught up with Matt Braid, who is our boss of the Australian Racing Group, a former colleague of mine, and this has brought it all of this together. An amazing job.
Thanks, Rusty. It has been a lot of hard work by stakeholders and staff at Australian Racing Group and CAMS to bring it all together today. We've got 17 cars on the grid, 8 different brands represented, some great driving talent, and a real mixed grid, which is fantastic. So we're really looking forward to showcasing it to the fans today.
And a prize pool of $250,000. I mean, that's a brilliant way to start.
Yeah, I like to be driving, but yeah, no, it is. I think, look, it's something a bit different. It hasn't been done for a while. And again, it's another incentive that we can reward those who participate and succeed. So yeah, really looking forward to starting today and seeing race 1 kick off.
Well done. I know there's been a lot of late nights. Great to catch up with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Rusty.
There he is, Matt Braid. We might, Will Brown's behind me. We'll have a quick word, but the tow truck looks like is taking Moffat's car away. We'll clarify that. How are you looking, Will Brown?
Yeah, feeling good. Obviously, we're starting P4, and I think we've got a competitive car, so have a crack this run and see where we end up.
Fantastic. I mean, you're doing such a diverse array of racing at the moment, and it's been successful for you off the back of what you achieved in '86 and Formula 4 in the Super 2 series, and now this.
Yeah, I love racing anything I can. I'd race a wheelbarrow if they let me, so no, enjoying it, and just the more racing you can do, the better driver you can be. So got the call up a bit late for this and was pumped, so looking forward to the first race.
Have a fantastic afternoon.
Thank you. Cheers.
There he is, young Will Brown. Cam?
Back to the front of the grid now, the driver on the outside of the front row, Jason Bright, in a Volkswagen as well. Very interesting to think Jason and bright in a Volkswagen.
You haven't heard that before, have you? But hopefully hear a lot more, and hopefully hear the front row of the grid a lot more. It was an awesome qualifying session. I thought, Tony did a good job at the end. I thought we'd sort of snatched it a little bit there.
So you mentioned for those that were here at the track a little earlier today that these cars are some of the toughest or the most work you've done in a race car. Now that's a big statement coming from a driver like you.
You are working hard. I mean, I think there's a lot more going on than what we're used to. With the front wheel drive and the way that they sort of get into the corners and hike wheels, and they're moving around a lot. And you're working pretty hard around here. When it's all moving around, they're exciting. Like, they've still got plenty of downforce and good little cars.
Team Tradie is the name. I'm sure you've got quite a few tradies around Australia following in as well. Tell us a little bit about the idea behind it, the concept.
Well, I mean, we're putting together a bunch of tradie sponsors and, running a competition where, we're going to give a tradie or even a consumer a drive in my car here next January. And, we'll have 33 people here having a lot of fun in road cars and they'll all get a hot lap in the car, and then one, lucky person will get to have a steer and have a drive in my racing car.
Well, good luck today.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
I'm with James Moffat. We were having a bit of a giggle before and looking forward to this. This is not scheduled. Your car on the back of a tow truck. What's happened?
Yeah, look, we've been sort of having some issues with the turbo sort of coming loose. So we were hopeful that it was just that. I noticed and reported some smoke coming out of the car on the warm-up or the lap to the grid. But it looks like it's done more than that, possibly popped an O-ring out. So it's hemorrhaging oil, which isn't ideal. So just disappointed for everybody at GRM and Renault. They've put in a huge amount of work to get the cars to the grid. And to not be able to take the start is a bit frustrating, but that's racing. We're learning these cars on the run, and we'll come back tomorrow. We'll have pretty good tyres for the races tomorrow, so we'll just have to charge through from the back.
That was my next question, because you've got a great group behind you in Gary Rogers Motorsport there, but these are new cars and it's the opening round of a new series, so we're still learning. You've got the gear, it should be okay?
Absolutely. So we've only had these cars for just over a week in the country, so our preparation has been far from ideal. But, we'll just have to cheer on Chris now in this race, see if he can make some progress through the field, and we'll learn a few things from him for tomorrow.
Watch for this guy in tomorrow's races. It'll be exciting to watch. Thanks. Hard luck to James Moffat. Let's get some more from the grid.
Well, I've got Molly Taylor here. Now, Molly, you said you'd feel more comfortable on dirt. I'm not sure kitty litter down here, if you have a look here from Moss, is exactly what you thought of. But welcome to circuit racing.
Thank you. I just asked if they could lay that down over the whole track, and that'd be great. But excited to be here. No idea what to expect, but get the first one out of the way.
We have a lot of people joining us on SBS for the first time. Molly, you are a guru in the world of rally. This is a huge challenge for you, isn't it? I think people should be aware that switching from rally to circuit racing is almost like going from rugby to AFL football. Yeah, totally. It's, obviously car control is an element, but the driving style, the technique, how you get a lap time is so different. So I'm sort of throwing out everything I've spent in the last 12 years learning and trying to, learn something new. But it's, it's an awesome challenge and I'm really enjoying it. And every time I get the car, I'm learning more and just been through how this whole start thing works. So hopefully I'll figure it out. Well, good luck. We're going to go now to your number one fan, Emma Francesco.
Just catching up with Gary Rogers. So great to see you in this pit lane. How exciting is this? We're going down in history. We're part of the inaugural round of TCR Australia.
Nothing better than being part of history, so long as we're not history. No, it's really good. I mean, hey, look, we love the motor racing industry. It's what we do. When we first got a chance to get involved in the TCR program, and certainly the S5000 has been a huge part of what we've been doing over the last 6 months. So we keep our head down, our bum up, and we all work hard. Success will come for most of us, hopefully mainly us.
Three fantastic drivers, obviously, in Jimmy Vernon, James Moffat and Chris Pither. It's going to be a great season.
Yeah, look, they're all good guys. They all know what they're doing. But mind you, it can change. But, if you start with guys that you think have got a chance, and guys and girls, I mean, it's great to see some girls in the field. So we'll just wait and see whether they're up to it. Let's hope they are. But, look, it's about competition. You want the drivers to do their very best. Because each individual sponsor needs their value or they won't come back. But you don't need your drivers crashing into each other and banging and bashing and having a whole lot of photos, because that won't work either.
Less carnage, that's for sure. Thanks, Gary. Enjoy the weekend.
You're welcome. Thank you.
It's fantastic to have the calibre of the likes of Gary Rogers, the Kelly Racing team, Matt Stone Racing on the grid here and helping to run some cars. Let's set the scene for you now, get an overview in a numbers sense of what TCR Australia is all about.
This weekend's opening round of TCR Australia sees an impressive lineup assembled for the history-making series kickoff. In terms of cars, there are 8 different brands represented on the grid, with all bar 2 of them running 5-door hot hatch race cars. The exceptions are the Audi RS3 and Subaru WRX STI, both being 4 doors. From a driving perspective, there's champions from every discipline, including Super 2, open wheelers, GT racing and various one-make categories. The oldest driver in the field is Jason Bright at 46, while the youngest is Alex Rouleau at 18. There are 3 female drivers in TCR Australia, as well as 2 from overseas for this round, in Dutchman Rick Breukers and Kiwi Andre Heimgartner. All up, there are 7 teams represented at round 1. The biggest lineups come from Kelly Racing and Gary Rogers Motorsport. The Kellys have 4 cars, 2 Subarus and 2 Opals, while GRM also has 4, a pair of Renaults and 2 Alfa Romeos. TCR Australia becomes the 16th national TCR series around the world. More than 600 cars have been built for the category around the globe since the rules were formulated 5 years ago. And the fact it begins at Sydney Motorsport Park is appropriate in terms of small capacity touring car history. This year is the 25th anniversary of 2-litre Super Touring's first Australian event at this very track in 1994. 2.5 decades on, and another chapter in Aussie tin top history will also begin on the very same track here in Sydney.
And there are plenty of people who have come here to Sydney Motorsport Park to see the action of this first race, first round in the car sales TCR Australia Series. We're ready to roll. There will be a 16-lap race ahead for this first race of 3 for the weekend. Let's take a look at the way they qualified earlier today. Tony D'Alberto on pole with 2 championship points to reward him for his efforts. 0.15 of a second faster than Jason Bright. Dylan O'Keefe, the young gun from Victoria, in the Alpha, alongside Will Brown from Toowoomba in the Hyundai. Michael Armand, last-minute deal to put him in this car, qualified P5. The second Honda with John Martin at the wheel, P6. Nathan Morecambe 7th in the third of the Hyundais. Rick Breukers, the Dutchman, 8th in the only Audi in the field. Then Andre Heimgartner in 9th, and James Moffat, who was supposed to start from 10th, will not start from there. The Renault, if you've just joined us, had a drama on the grid and has been wheeled away. Jimmy Vernon next, P11 in the GRM run Alpha. Aaron Cameron in the Volkswagen starts from 12th. Chris Pither in the Renault from GRM. And then 3 more Kelly cars. Alex Rouleau, Chelsea Angelo in the Holden Astras. Molly Taylor and Alexandra Whiteley round out the 16 cars that now will line up for this race of history. So it's 16 cars, it's 16 laps. The cars leaving now on the warm-up lap here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Tony D'Alberto on the pole position in the Honda Civic Type R. 4 different cars in the top 4 positions. Greg Rust alongside me in the commentary box as we get the cars rolling around. Greg, a chance for us to have a look inside these cars. They're all left-hand drive, they're all front-wheel drive, they're all turbocharged, up to 2-litre cars. It is going to be an interesting race because we just have never had one of these before. We don't know what we're going to get.
And we have a sprinkling of onboards throughout the field, so we'll give you a taste, a sense of what they behave like, how they move around. I spoke just prior to heading to the grid with a couple of the drivers, and Nathan Morecambe in particular said, you are in for an action-packed opening few laps. You will see a few people that will be a little braver on those Michelin control tyres than others. The cars tend to move around, they dance, particularly through turn 1. So we'll try and showcase all that for you. And we already have a championship leader. 2 points awarded to Tony D'Alberto for the first ever pole position in this sport. Massive stuff. Today, they will race first place for 40 points. Race 2 tomorrow for 40 points. But the final one of the weekend, there is a bonus, another 10 points, 50 on offer in race 3.
I'm never quite sure if a pole man rathers the money or the points. He'd rather both, but if you had to make them choose, it's always hard to figure out.
It's like spinning the wheels, the money or the points?
Yeah, exactly right. It's a really tough one. The Astron Tech pole position is Tony D'Alberto with Jason Bright alongside. So it's Honda, Volkswagen, Alfa Romeo and Hyundai. 4 different cars in the top 4 positions on the grid as we get ready for this first of 3 races. This is a history-making day, a brand new series with the car sales TCR Australia Series. Michael Armand 5, John Martin 6, Nathan Morecambe from 7th, Rick Breukers 8, Andre Heimgartner the Kiwi. That Subaru, they've had some struggles with that car. He has hauled that up the order. Jimmy Vernon is next in the order. The Gary Rogers Motorsport run Alfa Romeo. There's Alexandra Whiteley in the second of the Volkswagens from the Alliance Autosport team, the Jason Bright, Matt Stone Racing, I guess, combination team that they're running here this weekend. She lives in New Zealand. She's from Queensland, so we're not sure whether she's a Kiwi Queenslander or a Queenslander Kiwi. But for the weekend, she's racing on a Kiwi licence in Australia, so she's Australasian.
I may know someone with the same identity crisis, Aaron. So backed by Actron Air, who've been around motor racing in this country for quite some time, and more recently, of course, with Mark Winterbottom. Front of the field, car 50, Tony D'Alberto. There is a presence here from Honda Australia management across the weekend. We welcome them, and the 50, of course, tips the hat, salutes the fact that the company, as a proud maker of motorcycles and as a proud maker of cars, of course, have been in this country for 50 years. Great milestone season all year for them.
Fantastic to celebrate history. The car's rolling down to the grid. The other thing is here, not many of these drivers have experience with front-wheel drive. They're all saying that getting the temperature into those rear tyres is the toughest thing. It will take 3 or 4 laps to get those rears up to speed. Remember, the front tyres are steering and driving. The right front cops a real pounding here around Sydney Motorsport Park. You can make it fast over 1 lap, but can you make it survive for 16 laps? That's the bit we're going to find out. Alfa Romeo, Hyundai, 2 young guns, Dylan O'Keefe, Will Brown, winners in Carrera Cup, Super 2. Their pedigrees are very good, their resumes are good. Now they've got a chance to take on some really established drivers in Jason Bright and Tony D'Alberto. The last couple of cars rolling in. We are missing James Moffat. There is a gap on the grid that Renault will not take its place. So, the grid is set. A new era is about to begin. The Car Sales TCR Australia Series at Sydney Motorsport Park. It's Honda and Volkswagen on the front row. It's Alfa Romeo and Hyundai on the second row of the grid. Let's get it going. 350 horsepower in each car. Let's get those front tyres spinning down to turn 1. Who will get the jump? Jason Bright from the outside's got it going. Dylan O'Keefe's got the Alfa going well. The top 6 are all really even, but it's the 98 Bathurst champ, Jason Bright, round the outside, and the task force being up. He will lead the first corner, but look, they're 2 wide already before turn 2.
3 wide even at the back of the field. Little bit of a gap between that front-running group all the way back to Chris Pither in the sole remaining Renault. Right around the outside is that Brown. That's impossible. Will Brown with a big late braking move on the outside through turn 2. Bright leads the way from Tony D'Alberto. Look at the wheel work going on in the wall racing Honda Civic Type R. Brown's got to get defensive, or tries to.
He's racing already, Will Brown, side by side. Michael Arman, John Martin. Falling back in the order, there's Jimmy Vernon. They're hustling, trying to get their spot on the road in this first of 16 laps. We jump on board with Nathan Morgan in the Rondo Hyundai, up behind the Audi of Rick Breukers, covering the line. Jason Bright starting to move away. D'Alberto next, then Will Brown. They've settled down into a rhythm, but it's going to take another lap or 2 to get the heat in those front Michelins and start to get the order. On board, Chris Pither, the number 33, Renault Megane, already with a crack in the windscreen.
Yeah.
That was a new car at the beginning of this week.
Look at Rick Breukers, aggressive at turn 8. He's well wide there, though. That's going to hurt him off the exit. Bright with a little bit, maybe half to a car length now over Tony D'Alberto, then back to Brown. Got to say, an impressive job being done by Dylan O'Keefe in that car at the moment. He comes with armed with a variety of recent racing experience, and that, as the team have been saying, Barry Haig, his engineer, that means he's got stuff in the toolbox that can be applied to this new form of racing.
The 777 Subaru, we just saw a shot of it there. Andre Heimgartner battling really hard. They've had lots of car problems with that Subaru at Kelly Racing this weekend. Look in the background. Aaron Cameron is fighting so hard with Heimgartner, covering off the inside line. There they are at turn 1. The red Volkswagen, the white, black and yellow Subaru, and it's going for second spot. D'Alberto trying to cover off Will Brown, who's attacking. He's racing. He's not afraid to have a run at turn 2.
Now, the driving standards advisor for this one is well known in Australian motor racing and global Porsche racing for that matter.
Aaron Cameron got around down to turn 2, had it sideways, saved it, and I think he may have clipped a car on the way through in the VW.
Bit of damage to the front of that car. Bright continues to build on that lead, on that colder tyres. The point I was going to make about Alex Davidson before, our driving standards advisor, is he was going to police blocking in the opening few laps. So it'll be an issue worth watching. I don't think anything's too bad so far, though.
I asked him after qualifying if there was anything he was looking into. He said no, nothing at all. A race is another matter, though. When we let them all loose for 16 laps around Sydney Motorsport Park, it's been a hectic opening lap and a bit as we jump on board with Nathan Morgan in the number 11 Hyundai. Started from position 7, sits position 6 at the moment. Former Australian endurance champion in GT racing, one of 3 Hyundais in the field in TCR this weekend. But Jason Bright just building that margin 1 second back to Tony D'Alberto, who has got Will Brown still all over the back of the number 50 Honda Civic Type R.
This guy's coming off. Oh, gets a little loose through the final turns, Brown. He's coming off a successful weekend in Western Australia where he's been competing in Super 2. We know that he did such a brilliant job in Formula 4 and Toyota 86. He's a guy with a really bright future in Australian motor racing, isn't he?
Jumping on board here with another young star of Aussie motor racing, Chelsea Angelo in the number 37 Holden Astra. Holden backing being put on these cars through a dealer association. The Astras, there are two of them in the field. Aaron Cameron's on the fight back mission here. That was wide. Michael Arman out through the grass in turn 1. Contact now with Nathan Morecambe. Sideways, nails the throttle to drive the front wheel drive Hyundai out of the danger zone. Loses 2 spots, has got a dinged bonnet. Not what he needs.
Looks like he's back at about 9th position at the moment. Race leader has a 0.8 of a second advantage now. Lap 3 of 16, the opener, the season opener, the first of 3 races for the weekend, the first of 7 rounds in this championship. 21 races in 2019, the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. And Brown continues to look aggressive, continues to apply that pressure to Tony D'Alberto. That all works in favour of Jason Bright, who currently has the fastest lap of the race.
Jason Bright's margin out front is around the same. It's that nearly a second. He hasn't been able to fully get away. He got that break early and he's been able to hold that at the moment. And just saying that word, Jason Bright in a Volkswagen, seems really strange. He travelled to Malaysia recently to Sepang to the TCR Asia round to purchase 2 cars. So they're not brand new cars. They are cars that came off the track there as winners. So he's got some good pedigree of equipment from Team Ensler to come here to the Australian Series. Here is Rick Breukers, the Dutchman, on board the Audi from the Melbourne Performance Centre team. It's the only Audi in the field here this weekend, and he is new to this track. He knows these types of cars. He sits P7 as we focus in on this fight for second. Will Brown showing the nose, just getting in the mirror of Tony D'Alberto through turn 1. We're on lap 4 now here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and D'Alberto has not had a quiet moment at all.
On board, the Civic Type R takes that mid to tight line going into turn 2, makes it difficult for Brown. You can see Jason Bright up ahead of him, left foot braking. It's all a part of this racing. Engineers often calling for more overlap. They want them to do that, and the pedal box positioning really lends itself. So Brown continues to harass, to hassle our pole sitter Tony D'Alberto, but the race leader is Jason Bright. He gets a little loose once again. This is awesome stuff. We'll grab a quick commercial break in our coverage here. Come back with more live on SBS right after this.
Jason Bright has control here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Tony D'Alberto next from Will Brown. Dylan O'Keefe is position 4. Then it's Nathan Morecambe P5. John Martin is 6th. The Audi is in P7 of Rick Breukers. Then Jimmy Vernon in the Alpha. Michael Arman slipped to 9th in the Hyundai. That was the fast car in practice here yesterday. Andre Heimgartner 10th on board the Subaru. We jump into the Renault with Chris Pither, who sits in position 13. They're still finding their way with these little cars. Look at that cracked windscreen, Greg. I'm not sure if he's had something fly up and hit that car or if it's cracked from hitting curbs really hard, but that's certainly not going to help with the sun at this stage of the day.
How much do you bet someone's on the phone to the nearest Renault dealer right now? Hey,
Lots.
We need a Megane RS front windshield ASAP.
He's not thinking of that now because he's zeroed in too on the back of Alex Rouleau in the Castrol Astra from Kelly Racing. We saw this before. Michael Arman with damage to the front of his Hyundai with the bonnet coming loose, but it hasn't worked much further loose than what it was the last time we saw that car. Jason Bright, he's building the margin 1.5 seconds back to Tony D'Alberto, who I think's finally been able to draw breath because Will Brown's been on him for the last 4 laps and hasn't really let him go, but he's just been able to get a little bit of a margin. There's Andre Heimgartner in the 777 Subaru from Kelly Racing, of course, races in the supercars full-time for that team and adding a bit of TCR action to his season, which has included GT racing as well. So he's a busy Kiwi, as these guys have been. So the race is starting to settle down into a pattern, but we are still in the unknown. We don't really know exactly how hard they can push these tyres for, exactly how hard they can push these cars for, how they'll drop off, what their characteristics are. We're going to wait and see because we've got a whole weekend to find this stuff out as we get this first race through. As Greg mentioned earlier, 40 championship points on the line for the winner of this race,
40 for the winner of race 2 tomorrow, and 50 for race 3 tomorrow afternoon.
I think Tony's just got that confidence now. Everything's come up to temperature. I think he clearly feels he's in a better position to battle with Brown now. And we probably need to remember, he grabbed the pole position, had to use, I think, a couple of extra tyres in order to do that. But his first, as someone comes in, it's Michael Arman, yeah.
Hyundai's on his way into the pit lane.
The point was that the early learnings for Tony D'Alberto in this Honda were, of course, at the Marulan circuit, which is a tight little layout here on the outskirts of Sydney. He wasn't able to take part in the official test because of other racing commitments, but really they got their head around it yesterday, Wall Racing, didn't they? Great job.
Yeah, and that was a chance for David Wall to jump in Tony's car at the Winton test day, because Tony was unable to be there originally when the rest of the field, quite the full field, was testing that first time out, but remember it was 9 or 10 cars getting their first crack at a run on Australian racing tracks. This is a great fight for second and third place, the battle for the minor spots on the podium. Jason Bright holding the margin in the Volkswagen. Will Brown showed that nose a few times in the Hyundai, but hasn't been able to make a move just yet on Tony D'Alberto. We're working lap 6 here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and that is the team at Matt Stone Racing. Matt Stone himself is closest to camera with their car, Jason Bright, out in front.
Nice variety. VW, Honda, and of course we've got the Hyundai and the Audi in the top 6. Back live at Sydney Motorsport Park, Jason Bright leads the way, and the advantage is now 1.8 seconds, thanks in part to this ripping battle going on between Tony D'Alberto, who's a very experienced endurance racer in touring car terms here in Australia, has been a GT champion, of course, and now at the wheel of this front-wheel drive Honda Civic Type R behind him, an emerging talent, the guy that's come through the Toyota 86 series, been successful in Formula 4, and has cracked the podium now in Dunlop Super 2. He's got, as we said before, he's got a lot to come in career terms as Will Brown.
And he's got the right attitude about it. He's a country kid from Toowoomba. He's got a great personality, loves going car racing, loves being around people, and he's the sort of guy that people are drawn to. Remember that he is an Erebus endurance driver in the Supercars Championship with Anton Di Pasquale. So when you get signed up so young, you clearly have talent. I don't know what it is about people called Will from Toowoomba. They seem to go really fast. One goes around the Speedway in Indy fast, the other one's going fast here at Sydney Motorsport Park this weekend. Let's go back to the pack here and have a look through the order. Rick Broiker's sitting here in 6th spot. He's picked up a spot on John Martin in the Honda. We've lost Michael Arman. That Hyundai has been into pit lane to have its flapping bonnet repaired. So he's now rejoined back in position 16.
Before the break, we did see what looked like the very tail end of a shot of him having some sort of wild ride through turn 1. And as you say, that bonnet was looking a little awkward, a little ill-placed. So he's been into the lane. We jump back aboard with Nathan Morecambe now, position number 5. Let's get an update from the lane. Here's Emma.
Matt Stone, what a fantastic start from Bridie, and he's looking very quick.
Yeah, no, he got a very good start off the line. Obviously got the launch control and all that really working well. Got a good jump. He's taken the lead and he's sort of extended it. So keep this up for another 10 laps and we'll be looking good.
Best of luck, Ken.
So an update from the lane as well as Michael Arman, the quick man from yesterday, has been into pit lane, a broken front left bonnet pin. So he's had the bodywork taped up and he's back out on track. In the meantime, guys, you were talking about tyre life. Remember, only 10 new tyres they can use across the course of the weekend. They must use 4 in qualifying, which has been, and they have to use 2 new ones in race 1 and race 2. The question is, who used up all their tyres in qualifying ahead of race 3 tomorrow?
And the other thing too, Cam, we've seen a couple of drivers running off the road in qualifying earlier on. I know Rick Broiker's had a run off through Corporate Hill that damaged the tyres. For him, we jump aboard with Tony D'Alberto in the Wall Racing Honda Civic Type R. Jason Bright is just sneaking away. It's a 10th or 2 here or there. And Will Brown is permanently a fixture on this Hyundai into this Honda because they have not been apart for this entire race. Jimmy Vernon off the road, car 7, the Alfa Romeo down at turn 2, the former Toyota 86 Racing Series champ. He qualified 11th and mucked up his fast lap. He felt he should have been P5, P6, but that won't help him. He drops back now to position 13 as Will Brown just keeps hammering and hammering away at Tony D'Alberto. Dylan O'Keefe in the other Alfa Romeo, there he is in the back of shot, just keeping a watchful brief while these two spend all their time fighting. He's just slowly creeping into the game.
O'Keefe running car number 9. His engineer is Barry Hay, and Barry was reminiscing in the discussion I had with him yesterday. He said it's like the old Team Green days. They ran car number 9 with Russell Ingall. Barry was Russell's engineer in the season, of course, when Russell Ingall back in 2005 went on to become the champion here.
Will Brown here is a champion in other categories, Tour 86, Formula 4 in the same year, which is quite an effort. There is Matt Stone watching on as Jason Bright leads the way. This guy and his team, Matt Stone Racing, are involved in pretty much every category in the country now. Main supercars, Super 2, Super 3, TCR, they've got a bit of everything going on, and Will Brown's got it going on. He's starting to really put the pressure on Tony D'Alberto. Second spot's on the line, turn 2, he's having a look, but the Honda is equal to the task. While these guys fight, Jason Bright pulls another 10th on the last couple of corners.
And O'Keefe gradually closes too, Nooms. He's got maybe a 10th or so in lap time terms on the past couple, it would seem, so he's gradually closed that gap. He's under a second now to Will Brown, so that could well become a three-way fight as you ride with D'Alberto. Some left foot braking in that Honda Civic Type R.
Love watching them run wide on the exit there of turn 5. Use all the road, all the concrete on the exit, all the verge, anything that they can get their hands on as they pound around the Sydney Motorsport Park circuit. We're at the halfway mark of this first race of car sales, TCR Australia. Jason Bright leading the way in the Task Force VW. There he is, just going through shot. Dylan O'Keefe's in the game here. Here is the other Alpha, Jimmy Vernon, right front tyre. That's the one that's vulnerable around this track, particularly if you run off the road there. There's a few curves where you hit the back end of the curb. Oh, you can say goodbye to your Michelin.
If you've not seen TCR before, it's represented in all kinds of countries globally. A formula that is very cost effective, based around small hot fours, or fast fours I should say, and hot hatches, turbocharged 2-litre engines with a number of measures in place, a bit like GT racing, balance of performance measures to ensure that the cars are very equal in performance terms. About 350 horsepower. Cars like the Hyundai and the Honda, for example, inside beautifully built race cars.
Really nicely built cars from some very well-established organisations around the world. We've got 8 different brands represented here today on the grid. Alfa Romeo, Audi, Honda, Hyundai, Holden, Renault, Subaru and Volkswagen. And of course around the world there's a couple of extra brands that are in some of those series. Having a look back here through the field at Sydney Motorsport Park, there's John Martin in the second of the Honda Civic Type Rs. They had some tyre problems with those cars yesterday. He and Tony D'Alberto popped the tyre. One of them I think was a little too exuberant in terms of drivers. But the other one was probably a setup issue, so the team just wound back the setup a little bit there, just trying to push a little bit too hard. Gary Rogers Motorsport team with a look over at the Jimmy Vernon right front of this Alfa Romeo. And that is fairly well torched, and that's one of 10 tyres for the weekend, so that's going to make things a little tricky for the tyre allocation. Jason Bright continues to lead the way as we head back down to pit lane.
And you'll notice, guys, the cars is parked at a 45-degree angle in pit lane. That's by regulation. One of the interesting things, as I read the regulation, there's only 2 members allowed over the line to work on the car. They've got 3 here at the moment. Now, remember, being a brand new category, there is a little bit of uncertainty around the rules and regulations. One thing's for sure, though, it's not one central nut to do up on this car either. You'll notice they've got the old rattle gun out, and it's 5 wheel nuts they've got to do up.
And this really hurts too, Cam, remember, because it's progressive grid in TCR. So where you finish today is where you start race 2 tomorrow, and where you finish race 2 is where you start race 3. So if you have a drama early in the weekend, yes, you have time to recover. But the fact is you've got to recover, so it really does hurt. Jason Bright leading the way. This fight for second still on. D'Alberto, Brown, O'Keefe's next. Nathan Morecambe is a little further back on the road. What a mix, Rusty. I mean, Volkswagen, Honda, a Hyundai, an Alfa Romeo. Not too many places you find that sort of variety.
And it looks like just in the battle between D'Alberto and Brown, for example, each car seems to have a strength in a different part of the circuit. Clearly, D'Alberto now has good confidence in the car. The opening laps, Brown just seemed to be that little more exuberant, a little more fearless, shall we say. But now everything's up to temperature and working the right way. D'Alberto's in good form here, but in the meantime, Jason Bright has a 2-second advantage over these guys, and you can see that O'Keefe is gradually getting closer. He's gone from a second down to 8 tenths now behind Will Brown. So that fight for second, as you can see, there he is, closing in now, gradually, slowly becoming a 3-way fight.
Working our way through lap 11 here at Sydney Motorsport Park. If you're watching the action, this is one of a range of TCR series around the world. It's obviously the newest. There's been over 600 of these cars produced in the last 5 years. It's caught fire like a wildfire around the world. It's essentially, it's customer sport racing. It's like GT3 racing is in GT racing. There's no factory teams permitted in TCR, but manufacturers are allowed to support customer operations, and that's what we're seeing. Some minor support from Renault Australia for Gary Rogers Motorsport, and of course Honda support for the Civic Type Rs. There's Jason Bright on the run down to turn 1. We jump on board with Nathan Morecambe. Watch these things at turn 1, Rusty. They work the wheel. They are setting serious pace, plucking another gear on the sequential paddle shift, tips it in, and then dances. Watch it dance. Look at the handwork.
Love it. Right on the limit through turn 1. They're busy. We go inside the Melbourne Performance Centre garage. You can see Eric Pender there with the glasses. Just put him to the top of his head. An engineer with a huge amount of experience in Australian motorsport. Has worked for the likes of Kmart Racing at the height of the lap of the God's reign for Greg Murphy at Bathurst in the early 2000s. Back to the fight for second position. Has Brown used all of that up, or has he had to just cool things off? And maybe in the final few laps here, lap 12 of 16, opening race of the championship, will he have a little something up his sleeve to maybe battle D'Alberto once again? Cam?
David Wall, team boss for Tony D'Alberto. He's been under pressure from lap 1 of this race.
Yeah, no, I mean, it goes to show what the calibre of driver he is, isn't it? You know, he's doing a very good job looking after the car, and we'll see what we can produce in the last few laps. But Bridie's ticked away there, so it's a race for second at the moment.
Has he got the car underneath him? Because Will Brown is really pressing.
He's not saying much, so we'll say yes.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, mate.
Cam, it'd be interesting to know, just on the flip side of that, what the scenario is for John Martin. I think earlier in the day, he was complaining about just a balance issue off the back of the problems they had yesterday. He's only in 7th, and I just thought Martin, given his experience, maybe one of the kind of guys that might be a little further forward than that.
Just cover off a point 2 from earlier that Cam raised in regards to cars in the pit lane. There is an exception to that rule for this first round of the series, where there's 4 pit crew that are permitted over the line for a first round where a car in TCR competes. This is good. Aaron Cameron and Andre Heimgartner. You can see that little bit of damage on the red VW from the opening laps, where he was sideways when he exited turn 2 and clipped another car. Heimgartner, they've had problems with the downshift in this Subaru. You can't go bang, bang, bang and go down the gears. You've got to go bang, wait, bang, wait. It's been frustrating, but he's doing the best that he can do. But what we are seeing, the Subaru in a straight line is one of the fastest cars here this weekend.
Those of you wondering what sort of speeds they're doing for the likes of Heimgartner at the end of the front straight, it's over 210 k's an hour heading into turn 1. So pretty impressive from these little turbo 4s. Tony D'Alberto now with 0.5 of an advantage over Will Brown, and you can see that O'Keefe is closing. It's nearly down to half a second. O'Keefe may well just challenge for that final spot, a spot in the top 3 in that Alpha. That'd be a nice way to start the weekend here.
Would be a great way to start the weekend, and adds to the progression that Dylan O'Keefe's been showing in motorsport overall. He's come from Porsche GT3, Carrera Cup. He's in Super 2. He works at Gary Rogers Motorsport Workshop. He's in a satellite team, Ash Seawitch Motorsport team, that's running the Alpha from Gary Rogers Motorsport. So they're just next door. There's only a garage divider between them this weekend, but he's flying the flag in that Alfa Romeo at the moment. P4, this time across the line, 13 laps down, 3 left to go. Jason Bright, margin at the line, back to D'Alberto. 2.2 seconds. It's now to 2.4. So he's just been edging away. He set the fastest lap of the race back on lap 4, a 1:35.9. These things have got some good little pace around Sydney Motorsport Park. Back on board with Tony D'Alberto, turn 2. And you can hear how gentle they have to be on the throttle. Front tyres are driving and steering all in one. Really easy to get too greedy with the right foot, fry up the front tyres, and you're really going to struggle. But everyone's really started to find their rhythm and their way around here at the moment. The race has really settled down, and D'Alberto's finally been able to breathe, because Will Brown, that's probably the biggest margin he's had all race. As we look back here to Rick Broikers, trying to put a move on Nathan Morecambe to fight for position 5. We should remind you too, 3 races over the weekend. Each race is counted as a podium result in TCR Series history books. So there's trophies on the line. Everybody's got to get going.
Big hi to all the people that are watching internationally online. You can notice a little bit of sponsorship on Rick Broikers' Audi there for the Spa 500, no doubt. With all of his experience in TCR racing and GT racing, people talking about the fact that it's finally come down under, and I know our neighbours in New Zealand are watching this one very, very closely too.
TCR on its way to New Zealand as well, and we've got some New Zealanders here in the field. Here's Chris Bither in the number 33 Renault, carrying those familiar colours. Some backing from Icebreak and he's got another Kiwi in front of him, Andre Heimgartner. It's like a little community. Only Kiwis race together on the road here in Australia. They do it in supercars. They're doing it in TCR as well. These boys are fighting for position 9 and 10. This will give you an idea, I reckon, at how good this Subaru is in a straight line. They're pretty close off the final corner. Watch now as the 777 car gets in a straight line and just starts to edge away from this Renault, which is a brand new car. This is not a car that's raced in another series before. It's a brand new car that had never run until it came here to Australia in terms of a race. So they're still finding their way. It's all very new. It's all very different to everybody involved. Look at that margin. That Subaru got away.
And the Renault really danced through turn 1. That's a decent crack in the windshield, isn't it? So there's a bit more to that story, whether it's, as you say, from clipping a curb or whether something's perhaps flung up and hit the windshield earlier in the race. Meantime, you talked before about Jason Bright having the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 35.91. Plenty of people watching that follow their motor racing will endeavour to compare to other kinds of motorsport. That's pretty handy from a 2-litre turbo engine, isn't it? Let's be honest.
I'll tell you what, if I'm sitting in the right-hand side of this car that's doing 135, I'd know all about it. It's fairly pacey around a track like this. As we're counting on down, we're nearly done. 2 laps to go here at Sydney Motorsport Park in this history-making first race for the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. That final podium spot, I don't reckon that's sorted out just yet. Dylan O'Keefe is in the game. P5's on the line here between Nathan Morecambe, Rick Breukers and John Martin, who's joined in as well. So the race had that little lull there for a couple of laps, and now with a couple to go, tyre life's going to be a bit of an issue of who's looked after them for this final little sprint to get to the end. But it's been a really great start to a new season, a new series. Of course, if you're just joining us, James Moffat's car had a drama on the grid. He was unable to take part in the start and has been sidelined. So 16 cars all still running around. Jason Bright is the leader. He's just crossed the line to begin his final lap. He leads by 2.4 seconds. Will Brown in third, Delberto second. Dylan O'Keefe at the line, 2/10 behind Will Brown. The final podium spot is not sorted yet. Here they are at turn 2.
Kind of speeds that we're seeing, just to finish that point off before. Dylan O'Keefe, 224 k's an hour. We've seen even higher than that for Rick Breukers. So some good numbers popping up. We are watching the final roll of the dice for Dylan O'Keefe. Brown has lost touch, lost ground there with Tony D'Alberto. D'Alberto seems safely in second position. Who will grab that final spot? They're waiting in the lane to greet our top 3. We'll bring you all the interviews and our wrap-up coverage of the opening race of TCR. And, of course, don't forget tomorrow, a massive day coming your way. 2 races to come with a relatively short break in between. The crews are going to be busy as we reset for the final one of the weekend.
You don't want to make a mistake in race 2 because there's not much time to get it fixed for the final race. The man who's done the job, Jason Bright, out in front, on his way home. The man who's won at Bathurst. He's won the Big Sandown 500. He's won the Adelaide 500. He's raced a Champ Car on the Gold Coast. He's won in Indy Lights. He's got an amazing resume, and he's going to write himself into the history books here. 2 corners to go, and Jason Bright becomes the first ever winner in the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. He's the oldest driver in the field. He's the most experienced driver in the field, and he's showing them all how to run a TCR car today off the final corner. When he gets to the line, he gets a checkered flag. It's a history-making moment. Jason Bright wins race 1 in Sydney. What a run from the Task Force VW. Tony D'Alberto's home in second, and Will Brown will round out the podium. He beats Dylan O'Keefe by 2/10 of a second, but Jason Bright is in the history books, the first ever winner in TCR Australia.
Just watching Andre Heimgartner bring that 777 to the finish line, and Noon's detailed it before, the way he's kind of fighting almost with one arm behind his back. That's a really impressive performance when you take all of that into account. 37 heading to the finish line. We've got a lot of female representation in this class, but that's Chelsea Angelo, a late signing for the Kelly Racing team in that Holden Astra. Finishes in the top 12 ahead of Whiteley and Molly Taylor. But it's Bright who is your race winner. First ever in the history pages for Car Sales TCR Australia. He stepped away from full-time driving in the last 12 months or so. That'll put a smile on his face. He's enjoyed that one.
And Rusty, the thing we love about this series is the variety. 5 different cars in the top 5 positions. It's Jason Bright, Tony D'Alberto and Will Brown who'll stand on the podium. Dylan O'Keefe position 4 in the Alpha Just. Rick Breukers, the Dutchman, P5 in the Audi from John Martin. Aaron Cameron finished P7 from 12th on the grid. Good job. Nathan Morecambe, 8th. Chris Pither in the Renault got his way into the 10. And Andre Heimgartner lost out in that battle of the Kiwis. He finished position number 10 in the Kelly Racing Run Subaru WRX. What a great start. TCR is off and running in Sydney. Come back with us in just a second. We'll head to the podium. With the Shannon's Nationals at Sydney Motorsport Park, so much has been said, so much has been written, so much has been looked forward to, and now we've had a race, and Jason Bright is the winner, the Task Force Volkswagen Golf GTI. And we can add that to his amazing resume as the first-time winner, so great stuff for he and for Matt Stone and Matt Stone Racing, this Alliance Autosport organisation. Bit of work to be done for the Renault GRM team, new windscreen required for Chris Pither here, car 33. He finished 9th from 13th on the grid, so there were some nice movers who were able to move forward. Aaron Cameron finished 7th from 12th on the grid. Chris Pither 9th from 13th on the grid. Alex Rouleau moved up his Astra from 14th to 11th. Chelsea Angelo went from 15th to 12th. Alexandra Whiteley started 17th and ended up in 13th, her first time racing here at Sydney Motorsport Park. But it's the other Volkswagen, this one, that is, well, it says P1 on the side. They've delivered certainly P1 for this car number 8 as the top three now head into the podium area in Parc Ferme, and the rest of the cars roll down the lane to where the TCR cars are garaged here in Sydney this weekend at the far end of pit lane, down the pit exit end. Tony D'Alberto steps from his Honda Civic in Parc Ferme. I can just see him stepping out now in P2, so the pole man gets a trophy for his first effort, and he's going around to congratulate Jason Brighton, help him out of his car. Will Brown, P3 in Hyundai, parked just to the right-hand side of our screen. And there's great camaraderie in this TCR series here this weekend. A lot of teams and drivers who've competed against one another in other series. But this is all something new and something different. Get the logos there on the race suit. Great stuff for Jason Bright and his team. And it was a win by 2.1 seconds at the line, 40 series points for him. So he now holds a 2-point margin in the title chase, because Tony D'Alberto in second gets 36 for that runner-up result. But remember, he has 2 points from qualifying on pole position. So Jason Bright is the new championship leader for car sales, TCR Australia. D'Alberto, Brown, O'Keefe and Breukers, P5. Back in Sydney, and what a great start to car sales. TCR Australia, Jason Bright is the first ever winner. It says P1 on his race suit. He was P1 today. He got the job done in that Volkswagen Golf GTI, giving Alliance Autosport its first win in this series. Let's get down there. Here's Emma.
I'll get well.
We'll get you in front of your car. Jason Bright, history-making moment for you. You are the winner of the very first car sales TCR Australia race. Congratulations. How does it feel?
It feels awesome. You know, a lot of hard work went the last couple of weeks to get these Volkswagens ready, and you know, thanks to the Matt Stone guys and everyone who's helped out. The car was awesome. Like, great start, and you know, it looked after its tyres pretty well. So you know, that race is a bit of an unknown. Didn't know who was going to be sort of coming at us. I thought if Will got past Tony, he might come at us. So we're sort of trying to just maintain that gap. But awesome for me, awesome for Volkswagen and all the team.
Speaking of Matt Stone, he was looking very, very nervous in the garage that entire race, but you really do have a great support group around you.
Yeah, we do. I mean, like, you know, they were brought in pretty late at the media day, and you know, they worked on the cars here the last couple of days. So, you know, and we've worked pretty hard to get it right for qualifying. Tony just pipped us there, but you know, really happy to win the first one. That's for sure.
Well done. The winner, Jason Bright, for the very first race for TCR Australia. Rusty?
That's those opening few laps, it was pretty wild with you and Will Brown, wasn't it?
Yeah, the young fella Will, he was having a big old crack, and I'm trying to conserve my tyres because we weren't really sure what it was how the tyre was going to hold up over the race. But really, it came down to the start. I fluffed the start, I didn't pull the clutch out quick enough, and I had the bite point, but the second part I didn't let go quick enough, and Bridie got a run on me, and it was all over.
What were the other learnings from that one? I mean, it was great to watch you guys battle. He's not afraid to roll the dice, is he?
No, he's not. I mean, lots of experience. But yeah, the two old blokes got on top of the young bloke. Woohoo!
Congratulations. Great feeling for you and Honda to grab the first ever pole position and to finish on the podium for the first one.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of support here this weekend, Honda being one of them, but also all the crew at Wall Racing. They've done amazing amount of work in the background getting us here. So thank you very much, and hopefully we can back it up tomorrow.
Looking forward to it. Em?
Will Brown, after all the ups and downs this week, and especially in both those practice sessions, you've managed to get a podium. Well done.
Yeah, it feels pretty cool. I can't thank the guys at HMO Customer Racing enough. The car was great. Tried a bit of a dive bomb off the start down at turn 2. Knew it was never going to work, but thought it looked good. But no, we got just an awesome car and an awesome package thanks to the guys there, and can't wait to get onto the racing tomorrow.
Still another big day for you tomorrow. Good luck. Well done.
Definitely. Thank you.
There's a guy who knows how to win trophies. He's done it in all sorts of different categories, and now he's on the podium for this first ever Car Sales TCR Australia Series race. What a great start here at Sydney Motorsport Park. A new season, a new series is off and rolling. Stay with us here on SBS. We'll come back soon and head to the podium. A lot's been said and written over the last 12 months about this car. This is the definitive final version S5000 race car. We're going to see these cars race for the first time with the Shannon's Nationals at Sandown in Melbourne in September. And when you have a look at this car, you can't wait to see a whole pile of them race on a track. It's an en-route Ligier chassis that's sourced from the United States. In the back, 560 horsepower from the V8 engine. It's a Hollinger Australian-built paddle shift gearbox. And when it comes to tyres and wheels, it's a Control Hoosier tyre and wheel from Max Dumpsey Motorsport. It brings you back to those great days of Formula 5000. But what S5000 could be for Australia is our version of IndyCar racing. Top format, open wheel, top style racing. Looks good, sounds good. I can't wait to see these cars in action in September. Back with TCR Australia here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and what a way to start our series. 2 more races tomorrow. If they're half as good as what we've had today, we are in for a great day. Time to give out some trophies, time to celebrate our top 3 in today's first race of the series. Let's head to the podium with Cameron Vanderbilt.
Welcome to the Round 1, Race 1 podium presentation for the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. A historic day for touring car racing here in Australia. thanks to the series sponsors Car Sales, Astron Tech, Actron Air, Michelin and Panther Fuel. In third place, Hyundai i30N driver Will Brown. In second place, Honda Civic driver Tony D'Alberto. And your winner, driving a Volkswagen Golf, Jason Bright. Making the presentations today, Tony Tzolis from Astron Tech. Ladies and gentlemen, your podium for round one, race one of the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. Gentlemen, the podium is yours.
Great stuff to see the champagne fly here at Sydney Motorsport Park. We'll be back tomorrow with 2 more races on SBS from 1 to 3, but it's Jason Bright who picks up the first victory. It's a history-making day, the Car Sales TCR Australia Series. A Volkswagen wins, a Honda is second, a Hyundai is in position 3. What a great day with a wide range of cars, a wide range of drivers in this very first race of the series. It's been a really great way to start the weekend. Hey, Emma.
Found Alexandra Whiteley, of course, supporting her teammate down here at the podium. Hey, you just competed in your very first race in Australia. Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was awesome. You know, the Audio Alliance team run by Matt Stone Racing done a really good job. As you can see, my teammate Jason's up on the podium, so we'll crack on to whatever he's doing, and don't count me out of the next race.
Good luck for tomorrow.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, look forward to it. She did a great job today, Emma. Alexandra Whiteley moved up to 13th from 17th on the grid in the second of the Alliance Autosport Volkswagen Golfs. The other car with Jason Bright at the helm is the winner. What a great way to start the day. 7 rounds this year for the Car Sales TCR Australia Series, 21 races across the course of the year at 6 tracks, and right among it all, hey Rusty, it's been a sensational day.
We've really enjoyed it indeed, and of course the celebrations of the first of 3 races for the weekend. 2 big ones to come tomorrow, and we absolutely cannot wait to bring that to you live on SBS, and of course for those tuning in right around the world online. We have crowned our first ever pole sitter in the Car Sales TCR Series in Tony D'Alberto, and now our first ever winner in Jason Bright in that VW Golf. We hope you've enjoyed the coverage here on SBS. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow for 2 races live here at Sydney Motorsport Park.